make my small or big, whatever it is, presentation. And thank you so much for having invited me to make this presentation. And I would take some time. Now, distillery, spent wash, we've heard all of you, and my views, may be slightly different. But ninda khere rakhiye wala to hona hi chahiye. Somebody should be there to really examine the consequences of what we are saying, doing or doing. Now, spent wash is a very highly polluting effluent. All of us have realized it's got a very high COD, a very high BOD. As you reduce the water consumption, the COD, BOD would go on increasing from each technology. The concentration, you reduce the volume of effluent and the concentration of pollutants goes up. Now, what we are forgetting here is that the immense value that spent wash has in terms of plant nutrients, in terms of soil ameliorative substances, in terms of the biostimulants. So this is what it's worth crores of rupees, and when it comes as a replacement to the chemical fertilizers, it is a really good thing to be used. As sodic land reclamation also, we've got so much of sodic land available in India, and this is a highly acidic effluent. So it's a very effective sodic land ameliorant. This spent wash is being sold as a manure, as a fertilizer in Australia. Sir, क्या करते हैं? They bottle this spent wash, they supplement it with micronutrients, and they are selling it as products called liquid one shot. Either they put manganese inside, or they are augmenting it with micronutrients, selling it, and it is a very useful thing. And in Brazil also, almost 70% of the spent wash is being used in agriculture. I am a very strong advocate of spent wash used in agriculture, and therefore I am saying this, that it is one of the most sustainable technologies. In terms of distillery waste management, we just heard most of your distinguished opinion, and we started from anaerobic lagooning, then we came to the very, very magical biomethanation concept sometimes in 1983-84. Then we came to biomethanation and biocomposting. Then we came to sodic land liquefaction. So then we came to concentration incineration. Then we came to co-processing. So there has been a very dynamic change in the technology. The industry sat with the industry, discussed with the regulators, then they evolved a charter. All of us know that. We have a charter, and all these technologies were regarded as viable. Suddenly, sometimes in 2008, with the advent of the use of spent wash in cement as co-processing as an alternative fuel, the regulators thought that when all these technologies are not good, they cannot be managed, so they came into co-processing and finally evolved into concentration incineration, which in itself is a very unsustainable technology. Sir, the CPCB in an affidavit filed before the NGT has claimed that it is the most inefficient technology. You end up increasing the cost of a product by 6 to 8 rupees per litre. Then the carbon and water footprint is also very, it is an admitted fact of the CPCB before the NGT that it's very high. Sir, this issue, and then of course CPCB started issuing directions under section 18 of the Act to convert to ZLD and to have the online continuous emission monitoring stations. Sir, I am currently also a member of the NGT Bar Association. I took up this case on behalf of the All India Distillers Association. We contested it, and in the judgment, in the Ganga judgment, which I spoke of in the last meeting also, in the Ganga judgment, the Honorable Supreme, the NGT, Justice Swatantra Kumar Sahab had said very clearly that ZLD would not be applied across the board. It is not sustainable. The regulators should not apply suddenly across the board, and it has to be on a case-to-case basis. Similarly, for one-time continuous monitoring systems also, Section 21 of the Water Act has prescribed how a sample has to be taken, and if the sample is not taken according to that procedure, it is not collected, divided into two, and one sent to the state laboratory, one sent to the central laboratory, it is not to be admitted as a legal evidence. So as of date today, one-time controlled, the continuous emission monitoring system is not as per law admissible. If you have to prosecute, if you have to prove that effluents are being discharged beyond the standards, it has to be through a system as written in Section 21 of the Act, that you are given a notice, people go there, collect a sample, divide it into two, and then it is analyzed. It is sent to a public analyst. If there is any difference of opinion, then the report of the public analyst will be filed and not the report of the Pollution Control Board. That is what is written in law, and that has to be done. So the provision is that, the standards, the central police,
Nehaji, please mute yourself.
Is it okay now? It's better. सर जो स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं डिस्टिलरी के आज भी नहीं बने हैं. The standards of distillery sector are as per serial number 15 of the environmental regulations of 1986, which today also says that if you are discharging 30 milligram per liter of BOD, you can use it for surface water, and if you are discharging less than 200, you can use it for irrigation. This is the current distillery standard. Distillery standards are being formulated by the ministry, and they are in the process, and I believe that they would come soon. Now coming to the regulatory part, sir, we've discussed the pollution control laws, but basically I would like to make reference to Section 24 of the Act, which says that no person shall discharge any effluents beyond the standards as prescribed by the board. And it also says that what is polluting would be determined as per those standards. How can I prove that anything is polluting? That is only if they are exceeding the standards. Now the standards have therefore to be very clearly pronounced. Then we have the provision of consent in Section 25-26, a provision of consent to establish, which was just told to you, a provision for consent to operate. Now this consent to establish and consent to operate terms are not used in the Pollution Control Act. What is said is that if there is going to be any increase in the amount of effluents or change in the quality of effluents to be sent out of the industry, then a consent has to be taken, and a consent has to be taken to begin the discharge of an effluent. It does not say that the consent has to be obtained for running the industry or for operating the industry or for setting up the industry. Although it is inherent that you cannot start or run the industry without a consent, but the consent is on how much of effluent you are going to discharge, what is the quality, where is it going to be discharged, how is it going to be treated. There are 4 conditions that can be imposed. Then similar provisions were there in the Air Act also, where it said that you cannot establish or operate an air pollution source. So there they have not said industry. So air pollution, iske baad said, then of course you have the EP Act. Or EP Act के बाद what is of relevance to us today is the EIA process. EIA process has been very beautifully explained by DRC. We had one legislation in 1991, one in 1994, one in 2006. The 2006 regulation has waived or has cancelled all the earlier regulations. You establish the expert appraisal committees at the central government level. You establish the state level expert appraisal committees at the central government. What we would like to know, what is this category A, what is this category B, and what is this category B1 and B2. Category A are those projects which have to be appraised at the level of the central government. Category B projects are those projects which have to be appraised at the level of the state environmental impact assessment authority. Now, what is B2? For category B projects and for it is required that you have to do an EIA. Those projects which will not need an EIA or a public hearing are B2 projects. This reference has come up in your presentations also, that certain category of projects will become B2. So ये B2 जो होना है, B2 projects will not need the preparation of an EIA or a public hearing. Coming to distilleries, sir, there has been the provision, the present provision is that less than 100 KLD molasses based distilleries and less than 200 kiloliter grain based distilleries, they were B category, and beyond that were A category. That means if you are going to set up a distillery beyond 100 kiloliter per day, you have to go to the molasses based distillery, you have to go to the central government, or a grain based distillery, you have to go to the state government. Then this current system that has come, which has now said that all grain based non-ZLD distilleries will have to be appraised at the central level, and all grain based ZLD industries will have to be appraised at the level of the SEIAA. Now this is again where I differ from your presenters and the notion of industry, that ZLD has not been prohibited, sir, by the MOEF. It says that if you are a ZLD, you go to the state government for the clearance. If you are a non-ZLD industry, you come to the central government. Then why are we this is the issue we flag. If the Ministry of the is of the opinion that non-ZLD industry is also a viable option, then why should we insist on ZLD only, which is a very unsustainable, highly carbon intensive, highly water intensive? We are burning water, we are burning nutrients. I have a small book that I have written I was honored that the book was released by Honorable Mr. Prakash Javadekar ji last year. It is on distillery effluents and utilization in agriculture. कितना करोड़ों रुपए का revenue loss सर है हमारा through this process. So this is what we have to. The process has been explained beautifully by GRC, and where you have this B1 का B2 हो जाएगा और B हो जाएगा, ये बता दिया गया है. But on 16th of June 2021, it said that category B industry would category B industries which are to be appraised at the state level would become category B industries to be appraised at the central level if as a result of a pandemic, if as a result of national interest, the central government notifies. So central government will have to notify कि साहब इस सेक्टर की इंडस्ट्री को पैंडेमिक के कारण या नेशनल इंटरेस्ट में हम इसको गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से ही अप्राइज करेंगे. वी विल नॉट डू इट टू द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. दिस इज व्हाट दिस notification said. Then it said that those distilleries which have got a prior EC, वो चीनी मिल और वो डिस्टिलरीज जिनके पास पूर्व में EC environmental clearance है, if they want to go in for the production of ethanol, and that ethanol is to be totally used in the consumption under the EBP, in the ethanol blended program, then they will be regarded as a category B2 industry, meaning thereby that when you apply for NOC, when you apply for an environmental clearance, there will be no requirement for a EIA or for a public hearing. Then sir, there has been a general circular for most of the manufacturing industries, and this general thing is very dangerous, which says that if there is no increase in pollution, you can do anything. You can, change your production, you can change your product mix, you can change your product quantity, you can install a fresh plant just besides your existing plant, so that is there. Here also I have a small point, and that is unfortunately EC and consent to establish are two different things which have not been able to be understood by any one of us. They are absolutely different things. If you look into the constitution of the Expert Appraisal Committee as given in the 2006 notification, sir, there is no pollution control expert there. You have forestry, you have wildlife, you have social sciences, everything. आप अपने 6 लोगों में कहीं ये नहीं दिया है pollution, and yet the entire focus of all the EACs is on technology. Technology is a realm of the pollution control boards, to be decided during when they grant the consent to establish. We are not a substitute for existing law. We are not a substitute for the environmental clearance process is not a substitute for fire clearance, is not a substitute for forest clearance. उनको clearance अपना देना है. All that is to be done is that whatever we as the EAC or as the ministry say, that has to be incorporated in the clearances given by those departments when they give the clearance. ये बहुत स्पष्ट EIA नोटिफिकेशन में दिया गया है कि clearances from other departments shall not be required before grant of. अभी एक बात ownership of land की भी आ रही है. the EIA notification बहुत स्पष्ट रूप से कहता है that the application has to be made only at the stage of identification of the site. Word is identification. We as the committee or we as the government have no authority to tell the person to buy a plot of land, to buy his site, because the prerogative to refuse EC is always us. हम अगर उससे कहते हैं आप ज़मीन खरीद दो, उसके बाद ज़मीन पे उस पर कहते हैं no, the site is not proper from the environmental angle, who will bear that cost? So, and it is there in law, sir. It is there in law that it has to be only at the stage of identification of the project, and that you would not do anything on the site except for securing the site. Fencing कर लीजिए, उतना ही allowed है, उसके बाद कुछ नहीं allowed है, sir. This is it. Then sir, एक लास्ट पॉइंट है नेशनल बोर्ड फॉर वाइल्ड लाइफ क्लियरेंसेस का. जो जनरल कंडीशंस हैं, देयर इज सेट ऑफ जनरल कंडीशंस विच धीरज जी हैज आल्सो सेड, एंड दो जनरल कंडीशंस स्पेसिफाई कि आपको कितना अगर आप 5 किलोमीटर दूर हैं किसी प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया से, किसी इको सेंसिटिव जोन से, किसी तो देन इट बिकम्स ए कैटेगरी ए प्रोजेक्ट. If I am setting up a distillery which is within an eco-sensitive zone, if I am setting up a distillery which is within 5 kilometers of an interstate boundary, then the state government will not give it, then it is the central government where I have to go. ये बहुत clear होना चाहिए कि जनरल कंडीशंस लागू होंगी. ये जनरल कंडीशंस है कि eco-sensitive zone, critically polluted एरिया भी अगर कोई है, क्रिटिकली पोल्यूटेड एरिया में भी अगर आप कर रहे हैं तो आपको लेना पड़ेगा कैटेगरी ए में. साइटिंग क्राइटेरिया का धीरज जी ने बात किया था, और साइटिंग क्राइटेरिया पर से मेरे विचार में मिनिस्ट्री या CPCB के कोई नहीं है. I believe is that they are part of a technical guidance manual developed by the Administrative Staff College of India या ILFS ने distillery का किसने बनाया मुझे याद नहीं है. But one of these are the two organizations that have developed the technical guidance manual, और इसमें इन्होंने citing criteria दिया है. बहुत ज़रूरी है. It's very important that we have citing criteria. Apart from what Dheeraj ji has said, कि 500 meters from a highway, 500 meters from flood plain, ऐसे करके इसमें ये भी है कि अगर 3 लाख की आबादी के शहर के से आप में के पास लगाना चाहिए, it should be at least 25 kilometers away. It should be at least 25 kilometers away from a settlement of more than 3 lakhs of population. Siting criteria have not been established for any industry. Locally, yes, of course, UP State Pollution Control Board has its own siting criteria had its own, I don't know, it's almost 10 years that I retired. It had its own siting criteria for sugar, for tannery, for leather, for slaughterhouses. I think Bihar has one for distillery, which was quoted by Dheeraj ji, where it said that instead of 500 meters, you have a 200 meters distance from highway. So these distances have to be maintained. And last point that I have, again I would like to speak on the EC and CT part. जो EC और CT के लिए एक नोटिफिकेशन 5 फरवरी 2020 को निकला है, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि EC और CT के लिए हमको साइमल्टेनियसली पोर्टल पे अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. CT की एप्लीकेशन हम पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड को देंगे. पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड अपने व्यूज़ फिर EAC को देगा या SEAC को देगा. उनके व्यूज़ को लेते हुए SEAC और EAC ग्रांट या रिफ्यूज़ करेगा. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इसमें ये कहा गया है कि अगर ये इनहेरेंट है कि अगर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड CT रिफ्यूज़ भी कर देता है, तब भी EAC को अधिकार है ग्रांट करने का EC. और EC ग्रांट करने के बाद 30 दिन का समय दिया जाएगा पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड को. उस 30 दिन में पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड फिर ग्रांट या रिफ्यूज़ करने की वो दे. अगर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड कोई ओपिनियन नहीं देता है, इफ़ द पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड फेल्स टू रिस्पॉन्ड इन 30 days, द कंसेंट टू एस्टैब्लिश इज डीम्ड टू बी ग्रांटेड. बट द एंटायर नोटिफिकेशन इज साइलेंट ऑन what happens if the pollution control board finally says no, I am not going to give the consent to establish. There is no provision. If the consent to establish is granted, fine, EC can be granted. If the consent to establish is refused by the PCB, fine, EAC may still grant the environmental clearance and ask the pollution control board to give its opinion on why it was refused. If no opinion is given by the board, it is deemed to be granted. But if an opinion contrary is given to the board, what happens? As a board, I refuse to give the EC or the CT, then what will happen? This has to be examined, of course. Sir, EC is an environmental clearance. Pollution control consent to establish is only a pollution control system where it only examines what is the amount of pollution again that is coming, how is it being disposed, whether it is disposed properly or not. This is a very limited scope that the pollution control boards have. The EC has a much wider scope. The EC would study forestry, the EC would study socio-economics, it would study everything. And by saying that if there is no increase in pollution, you get the EC, it dissolves the purpose entirely of the EC. Absolutely dissolves the purpose of the EC. But because EC is just not pollution control, EC is forestry, EC is socio-economics, EC is health. So that is with that, of course, I would like to close. And since I was supposed to be making a valedictory address also, I have included this in my valedictory address, and I would extremely I am extremely thankful again to Dheeraj ji for having given this opportunity, and I have loved being with you. I have loved meeting so many people who have not met from long, who have been colleagues with from the Pollution Control Board. Thank you once again. Over to Dheeraj ji. Over to Dheeraj ji.
Dr. Saab, I have one comment.
Ji, sir.
Very right that water and air are special acts and environmental protection act is a different act, and we cannot mix both these acts. Each is under Environmental Protection Act and consent to establish is under Water and Air Act. Very clearly defined, and it is also mentioned in the Environmental Protection Act being there is a special act applicable. Then the provisions of special act
Right.
General Act.
Right.
EPA Act is umbrella act, is a general act. So you are 100% right in all aspects. Earlier you were in the same pitch as we were now you suggested that water problem even in the staff you will meet water problem very fast near the distillery unit. So what about water problem and public outcry? Even if both or this I am posting of course it is a useful for oil and agriculture, but there is lot of noise and nuisance and lot of public outcry and chances of groundwater pollution. And industry is always I have 40 years of experience, they will misuse these provisions. So that is why we have step by step come forward, and there are corporate responsibility also, and in that also there were some beyond standards we have industry people have agreed and your associations have agreed that it will go beyond the standards, and after following all those standards we have come that this generally is now very much required at least for municipal distilleries, because railway distilleries are always they easily can maintain the drilling system. There is no asset in that, and industry will love to have drilling system. Railway distillery, the profit is for municipal which have used 16,050 and we have reduced to 30 milligrams per liter. You will find always some violation, and you will find water problem, nuisance, and public outcry and lot of complaint. And it's very difficult to run industry because you will find any drainage system in everywhere. You will find village very close to the distillery, and cities are there very nearby. So considering all these aspects, so public hearing was very important. Now public hearing has been dispensed with the new notification if ethanol is manufactured for petrol blending. So it is my personal opinion, not the ministry's opinion. I am just a member there. So
may I add something, sir? Number one, sir, you are very right in saying that it is misuse that is causing a problem. It is misuse of the facility that is causing a problem, sir. But if people start walking on the wrong side of the road, sir, you don't close the road. The ministry, the regulator has to find out a system how to manage. You have when it comes to the use of spent wash, 70% of spent wash in Brazil is being used in irrigation, fertigation, sir. Mexico is using it, Australia is using it. Why? Because they know that the other. And sir, and let me please, sir. Then coming to the odor part, sir. Now, if you are doing aerobic tilling, sir, aerobic tilling is not a problem. Again, I am not saying, see, management may be a problem, sir. Technology is not a problem. Technology is not a problem in one-time control. What happens in one-time control that application, sir? You have the CPCB itself has a protocol. And that protocol has been certified by many agricultural universities. The CPCB protocol says that you have biomethonated spent wash. You apply 300 kiloliters per hectare of spent wash 15 days before the sowing season. Allow it to dry, then plow it, and that manure will be used. It does not say that you take a piece of land and go on feeding it with effluent. It does not say so. That plot of land has to be given only 2 applications in a year. Not more than that. 300 hectares, 300 kiloliters per hectare, only twice. And there is no odor problem. Odor problem would only arise if you throw your effluent on land. We are not asking you to throw your effluent. I agree that 30 milligram per liter is absolutely impossible, but that is I refer to it because that is the current standard. I only wanted the ministry to understand that the standards have to change. It is absolutely impossible to, but fertigation, biocomposting also. In groundwater there is no problem. If you go according to the groundwater, if you go according to the CPCB protocol for biocomposting, they have a beautiful protocol, sir. And you have to have lined your press mud storage area, your biocomposting, your windrows, they have to be lined, they have to be covered. You have to have a garland drain. So there is no chance unless you intentionally, if you don't.
To make powder making, and it can be used as manure. And where that is used for boiler incineration, you will save 40% coal. So
sir, but why? Sir, I think this debate is between two views, sir. So let us not go into it. My only thing is that they are all technologies. They are all technologies. They are all viable technologies. The NGT has itself very clearly in the Ganga judgment very clearly said that all technologies as agreed by in the Charter for Corporate Responsibility can be utilized on a case-to-case basis, sir. This is the legal position. Technical position is none of the regulatory authorities have said that OTCLA or pre-sown land application or fertigation or biocomposting are technically not feasible. They've only said that they are difficult to manage, which they are. But sir, again, my request is you don't close down a road because people walk on the wrong side of the road. If 40%, 50% people of our industry is complying, there are still industries in South India, sir, जहाँ पर one-time controlled application applied. They are practicing it. Parts of India you practice it, parts of India you don't practice it. Some boards say this, some boards say that. There has to be a consensus, sir. There has to be.
You are 100% right. In case there is a siting parameters for distillery, then you are right. Then this biocomposting can be used because it will be away from the village, it will be away from the cities, it will be away from the water bodies. So that situation will, I would say that will be thought about. But since no setting parameters for the distilleries, so it is big problems.
But sir, then it is for the EAC, for people like us, for you, to when we sit, when we do the appraisal, when we are given the TOR, when we are giving the TOR, when we do the entire site survey, why? We can always say we don't want this site. Who is going to stop us, sir? No one is going to stop the EAC in saying that, well, this site is not suitable. That is our purpose. That is what we are for. तो ये आप on a case to case basis लीजिए decision. आप EAC decide कर ले siting criteria. Let the EAC decide a siting criteria. सर डिले ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, सस्टेनेबिलिटी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. नहीं चलिए सर कोई बात नहीं. एंड आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल अगेन. आपसे बहुत साल बाद मुलाकात हुई. आपका ज्ञान का लाभ मुझको पहले भी प्राप्त हुआ था सर. एंड we have met, and there are different views, sir. There are different viewpoints. Therefore, we should not probably. ठीक है, your concentration incineration is one viable technology. Fine. One-time controlled addition and fertigation and biocomposting are also viable technologies which are majorly being used across the globe. Majorly, I am saying. Most of the.
Yes, powder making is also this another process.
हाँ. बट पाउडर मेकिंग से आप पोटैश ही तो लेते हैं सर. हाँ, तो पोटैश का कॉस्टिंग देखिए जरा सा. कॉस्टिंग देखिए, आपका पोटैश खरीदेगा कि इम्पोर्टेड पोटैश खरीद लेगा कोई?
सॉफ्टवेयर में तो सारा पाउडर मेकिंग में जा रहा है हमारे हम जो भी केस आ रहे हैं पाउडर मेकिंग की ज्यादा
नहीं नहीं ठीक है सर, वो तो अच्छी बात है, टेक्नोलॉजी इज गुड, आई एम नॉट क्रिटिकल ऑफ एनी ऑफ दीज टेक्नोलॉजीज सर। ये एकदम साफ, मैंने पहले भी कहा है, शुरू में भी कहा था कि 5 टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं, किसी के लिए कोई अच्छी कोई बुरी नहीं है। यही एनजीटी ने भी कहा है कि 5 टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं, कोई अच्छी कोई बुरी नहीं है, केस टू केस बेसिस पे इसका प्रयोग किया जाए। हम आप सब केस टू केस बेसिस पे करें सर, दैट इज व्हाट
विंटेज और सिटी लाइफ के बराबर हो जाएगा अगर हम 5 फीट दोबारा अलाउ कर देंगे तो गो टू बैक दैट इज वो बात हो जाएगी क्योंकि अभी हम काफी एडवांस स्टेज पे
सर। अगर आप बायो कंपोस्टिंग कर रहे हैं, आप बायो कंपोस्टिंग अलाउ कर रहे हैं तो उसका प्रोटोकॉल सीपीसी का तो सर अभी 2018-19 का आया हुआ है, इट्स अ फ्रेश प्रोटोकॉल। अभी एक सर स्टडी किया है 2014 में प्रिंसिपल साइंटिफिक एडवाइजर टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में, वो ग्रीन इंडस्ट्री इनिशिएटिव्स करके डॉक्यूमेंट है सर। उन्होंने भी तीनों टेक्नोलॉजीज को कहा है दैट दिस शुड बी एग्जामिन्ड। सर वी आर लूजिंग वेल्थ। यू आर मेंबर ऑफ द एक्सपर्ट अप्रेजल कमिटी एंड जो भी मेंबर है एक्सपर्ट अप्रेजल कमिटी का, वी आर देयर टू कंजर्व द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द एनवायरनमेंट। हमें टेक्नोलॉजी कौन सी लेते हैं कोई मतलब, हमारा सस्टेनेबल टेक्नोलॉजी होना चाहिए सर, ये हमारा उद्देश्य है। हम साइट को गलत बता दें कोई बात नहीं।
We got appreciation from the Supreme Court once we applied ZLD scheme to the distillery units. So courts are giving different decisions at different times. So we have to see the larger concept.
सर वो कोर्ट का डिसीजन अगर मिनिस्ट्री कंटेस्ट करे ना, वो तो मिनिस्ट्री पार्टी थी, मिनिस्ट्री पार्टी ने गंगा जजमेंट तो कंटेस्ट किया नहीं सर, उसका तो वो करे। लेट द मिनिस्ट्री, लेट द सीपीसीबी कंटेस्ट दैट जजमेंट। सर खाना आना खाइए सर आप। हाँ प्लीज प्लीज।
I would like to express special thanks to our Dr. Vijay Kulkarni sir. Thank you so much sir for information and sharing knowledge. I stand before you as a convener to extend vote of thanks to all of you and acknowledge your presence on behalf of organization of JNU आज. At first, let me acknowledge the significant contribution to our knowledge partners in this event. GRC India, BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Indian Association for Air Pollution Control, Government of India. I would like to pay earnest gratitude to all the distinguished speakers and dignitaries who deliberated and shared their findings, ongoing research, scope and limitations, challenges and viable options and opportunities in the field of our most coveted topic, most discussed topic of biofuel in India. Biofuel is the future for survival, longevity, sustainability and ecological restoration. It will be proved to be good for maximum to Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, like the states in particular, and pan-India in general. It's a great pivot in the direction of empowerment to revival of nature-friendly organic industries at all the districts pan-India. The government recently announced an ambitious plan to roll out vehicles running on 20% ethanol blended petrol by 2025 that accentuates biofuel production could not only safeguard our energy security but promising bioeconomy for poor who adversely affected by unprecedented economic and financial crisis from COVID-19 pandemic. The government of India notified the national policy on biofuel. In fact, AAJ considers it honor and privilege that eminent scholars, scientists, policy makers, and researchers who participated in this AAJ webinar series and enlightened us. Our speakers list is very vast, diverse, and of immense values, drawn from across India, addressed with multi-different eco-friendly approach and insights. The entire session was based on comprehensive knowledge, nuances of quality research, scientific paper, and rational with unique vantage point with various perspectives. It was simply brilliant, superb. Let's lots of learn and pursue more advanced research and guidance for better lifestyle and above all adoption and implementation of our state and central government policies in this regard. We pay high gratitude to all the speakers of this webinar. I must mention my deepest sense of appreciation for. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to all the eminent presenters who played the pivotal roles in making this webinar a grand success. Thank you so much to our Just Great Sir, President Kumar Singh Sir, who introduced the theme, our Vice President Sir, who delivered the President address, the theme address by our Ankit Rana Sir, and we missed some people, some eminent scholars because of their preoccupations. Sri S.C. Man Sir, member expert appraisal committee, who contributed immensely. Technical sessions was conducted by our Mrs. Mohita Kumaran, so thank you so much, ma'am. Mahesh Kulkarni sir for ALP technology, he has contribution immensely. One thing I would like to claim in the report that we became a big fan of knowledge, research and intellect of our honorable moderator and who delivered our validated address also, Dr. S. Pal sir. His past of vision is recorded and we would like to share these thoughts and ideas and we recommend to the government of India adopt it. GRC India has been consistent in its endeavor to make India self-reliant, keeping in mind the people and grassroots, marginalized, lesser fortunate, and how to empower them. What a marvelous team and vision for excellence. Extremely elegant, splendid. Our special thanks goes to our participants on audience also, like Dr. Our Vijay Kulkarni sir, who shared his original thought and ideas and who made this program more interesting and analytical. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the participants who logged in from across the globe to join this webinar, including our alumni and live viewers, friends and well-wishers, and all EC members, many of whom joined it on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and other multimedia platforms to listen to the brilliant speakers who are leaders in their respective domain. Friends, you all will be happy to learn that our webinar got fantastic support, technical support provided by Mr. S.K. Rawat, who worked around the clock to make our 24th webinar session a splendid success. On behalf of Alumni Association of JNU, I'd like to extend a big thanks to our team under able leadership of our President sir, our Vice President sir, General Secretary sir, and Joint Secretary sir, and the entire DC team. I'd like to inform our next webinar session should be announced shortly, as we all are fully geared up and inspired by this great participation. We believe in action and we will follow this government plan and policies and implementation in words and in action. Alumni Association of Art requests to visit our website www.jnupalumni.com, join as live member of our organization, respond anytime to us. Thank you so much for your participation. Jai Hind.
Next is National. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.